Well, today we will talk about the topic related to learning English. So the first question is, how long have you been learning English? Well, actually, I have learned English for 5 years, starting with in a junior school when I up to the grade one first. And I'm start and embark on learning English with a traditional approach that I think that in my raising the abilities or while raising the awareness about the English methods effectively, I think that this approach is conventional and is apt for any English learners in the futures. Well, as long as in the present, I am practice the IELTS test and you and raise awareness about the meaning of IELTS test and clarify my mindset about the logic of the English language. Then I change my approach and I learned more effectively. More of that. I have many various structures and vocabs and many flexible ways have to learn. I want to learn about the natural ways that people converse and communicate with some natural and emerging vocabs or phrase. So I would like to learning further in my learning English to finding more and have an exploration about both the English culture and cultural values and the historical values. What do you find difficult about learning English? Well, as I know that, and it is, I go to the traditional learning from my childhood. I have heavily prioritized it with high advanced vocabularies as long as complex structures like passive voice, relative clause, or the uh, many complex structures. And my teachers tell me that you should learn by heart to passing with flying colors. But nowadays, I clarify that this is a false ideas about it. This will cause myself flooding into high advanced vocabularies and passive our retention and reflection to the English language. As we flood our brain into the logical thinking or vocab structures or the rules of grammars and reading academic passage in a very young age, we will passive the learning. Well, then I think that this is the most difficult in my way of learning this. But nowadays, when I approaching the IELTS test, I have clarified the mindset about the way that IELTS has been constructed. And as the way I acquire and engross this mindset, it is very easily to me for acquire the English language logic and raise my vocabularies, structures, retention, reflection to the language. Very easy. Question 3. What advice would you give to someone when starting to learn English? Well, this is a very interesting question. Well, as in terms of at my point of view, when starting English acquisition, it is the similar way of raising language from the babies. While the babies have developed their way of learning language in a same way we're learning language in adulthood. While the first, when the baby was born, they listen to how the parents talk to them, how the parents interact and retain and reflect about the gesture of babies. And from for 2 or 3 weeks, the babies, if they want to express the ideas, they embark on crying to retention about the gestures of parents or the communication to converse about the parents. For example, they cry whether they want to eat or want to sleep. And when it's come to uh, to 9 to 10 months, the babies starting to speaking with papier. They try to use their own words. And with the way that practice make perfect, I think that babies as us try to use their own words and with the help from the parents and friends to rephrase the words that spouse and the babies will raise a variety of vocabularies that informal they can use in converse very completely with each other. And when it comes to 3 or 4 they can reading some stories, fairy like such as fairy tales or the stories about history. And as a way we vary the range of structures and vocabularies. The reading is the spoon feeding about the vocabularies, complex structures, and the high advanced words that we use to communicate completely in the academic environment. So, reading is the preparation for academic performance after years to year. And the final step is writing. Well, in my country, writing is the first action when you learn English. The teacher will write various and diverse of topic words on the board, and you try to learn by heart by writing down these vocabularies in very automatically and automatically. And well, this is a false idea when learning English. And while learning English, the final step will be writing to express idea and to express the arguments, to write the emails, context, to create the classroom lectures, or to send some personal notes or text messages to each other. Well, I think that when I have some advice or some tips about people embark on learning English, I should tell that raising our reflection to English by completely, fully encompassing in an immersive environment with international teacher and to comprehensively apply to create more holistic view of language. Well, in my opinion, raising a language logic is the same, take a resemblance render between adulthood and childhood, from babies to adults. The final question, would you like to learn another language in the future? Well, as I learned learning IELTS, I have raised mindset that the chronological order to learning English effectively is listening, following with speaking, reading, and after final writing. It is a pretty way to learning English. So I think that it is true across various of common language generally. So I want to keen on Spanish or French, which is very similar and familiar to English as a way I prove my mindset is true when acquiring another language in the same way that babies had raised. I think that each language has a control, but if we follow these steps, why we while we play a pivotal, we play in a role like babies. We will learn the language from the roots, and we will grow the level of language like growing a tree.